If you ask me, what's the easiest type of content I can make on this channel? Well, this video is the answer. Today I want to talk about another debacle in the world of gacha games. In the general gaming landscape, mobile games have somewhat of a poor reputation for being cash grabs or predatory. I think there's two sides to the coin, and one of my goals with my content is to separate the good versus the bad. It goes without saying, this video is about the latter. 2024 closes with another IP-based gacha game, and this time I will spare no quarters to Jujutsu Kaisen, Phantom Parade. Whether you're a longtime viewer or brand new, you should know that I hold a heavy bias against IP-based gacha games. I believe they're parasites that funnel creativity out of the genre by using safe and low-budget ways to reduce development costs and capitalize on the emotional ties of the fanbase. The majority of IP gacha games are cash grabs, but will Phantom Parade be any different? My name is Psyche, and welcome to one of the few Phantom Parade videos where the title is not in all caps. Let's begin. Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade originally launched around a year ago on JP. It finally released globally just around a month ago. The game is doing fairly well over there, but the global server is sort of a different story. I won't be doing a summary of the plot since it's a one-to-one copy of the anime or manga. I mean, come on, it's Jujutsu Kaisen. There's no way you don't know about it. The story in this game does have these moments where the characters have their inner thoughts, so it could help to flesh things out a bit more, but fundamentally every story beat is the exact same. I have seen the first season and Zero, but I have not touched season 2 of the anime yet. My hope with this game is to judge it under the lens that it's a normal gacha game and not tied to an existing title. This goes without saying, I review gacha games, and any critiques I have are to do with this game only. I have nothing against the original manga or anime series. Let's start with the good. As for the presentation of the story, it's actually fairly decent. Simplistic live 2D that works, full voice acting, and animated cutscenes. The main campaign is a copy of the chronological events of the original works, so don't expect a brand new title with a whole new story. I imagine with some characters' internal monologue, it can achieve a deeper insight to what the characters are thinking, which is not something the anime medium can do well. So at the very least, if you want a way to experience Jujutsu Kaisen in visual novel gacha format, you have the entire series at your fingertips. The gameplay features turn-based combat with 2D sprites. You can fill out a team of 4 members, with 1 as backup and an optional support from other players. Surprisingly, you can only deploy support characters 3 times a day, and there's no way to increase this from what I've seen. You select the move that each character will do from left to right. Everyone has their own normal attack, a skill or 2 that expends SP, and an ultimate. SP is naturally generated per turn, and performing certain actions will increase the ult meter. I found that most buffs will always be cast before damage-dealing spells, and the order of attacks go from left to right, so the ordering of the party formation actually kinda matters. You will want a debuffer that inflicts defense down to go first, for example. The animations all look pretty decent, and I quite like some of the flavor with the characters. For example, this version of Gojo has invincibility, skills that cost virtually nothing, hits like a truck, except he will leave the battlefield after 7 turns. I also quite like some of the quality of life features. Unlike solo leveling Arise, you can sweep levels unconditionally, and there's no weird stamina currency to keep track of. The general progression is also very streamlined. If you beat a level with 3 stars, then you get to sweep it. Simple gameplay loop, which is perfectly fine with a mobile game. 2 times speed and full auto mode are available too. In terms of features, Phantom Parade is a vast improvement from solo leveling Arise as an IP gacha game. There's no paywall quality of life, as it should be. Characters can be leveled with the respective currency, and level caps can be raised if you do something called grade enhancement, which takes these farmable resources called cursed objects. There is an element system that amplifies or reduces damage. There is the dedicated gear slot called Recollections, which can give passive or active abilities to its wielder. You can bet that the best in slot ones will have to be pulled from the gacha though. There's no separate artifact system with RNG substats or set bonuses, at least not from what I could find, so you won't have to worry about that aspect. The UI is also pretty well done, as I had no issues navigating through the menus and finding where I needed to be. So in terms of quality, Phantom Parade is definitely still passing the bar. Now, I actually tried out the game when it first launched. There were some things that I could have critiqued, but ultimately I shelved the idea to make a video about this game. Yeah, there were some usual cash grab shenanigans, but I feel like I didn't have ammunition to do a low-light review on this game. But now, I do. So let's start with the critique. The first thing some players pointed out is that the localization is not the best. Some words or phrases in the UI sounds like it was a direct translation from its JP counterpart, which may have sounded a bit weird in English. Normally, I wouldn't look too deep into this, since small typos where errors happen all the time. Happens to the best of us. As long as it doesn't affect the context of the story or game, then it's not the end of the world. There were, however, a bit more severe errors in translation. For example, there was a time when this loading screen read the Satoru family, which is just wrong, because that is Gojo's first name. This hints to me that the localization team didn't have enough understanding of the series in order for them to make a jarring mistake as this. Again, if it was just an independent indie developer, I would have looked past this. But since the global version is published by Bilibili Games, you would think that the biggest video sharing platform in China could conduct some decent quality assurance. Now we move on to the gacha system, and this is where the root of all evil begins. Normally, it's pretty hard for me to put a rating on something like this, as how generous or egregious a gacha system is determined by a lot of factors, like the rate of free-to-play income, pity carryover, level of grind, and the necessity to pull certain units. So I'll say this definitively. The gacha system in Phantom Parade is absolute ass. Character rarity ranges from R to SSR, with the rarest having a drop rate of 2.5%. This is at first admittedly on the medium to higher end, except if you look at the rate-up chance, yeah, those are FGO rates. You need 300 units of the cube currency for one pull, and the pity is a spark system for 250 pulls to guarantee the rate-up character, with the rate-up recollection memory being 120. This equates to 75,000 cubes to guarantee a character of your choice. The pity does not carry over to other running banners nor the next one. Any leftover built-up pity is converted to JP, which is a common upgrade currency. Unfortunately, this is nothing new for IP-based gacha games. They've historically had low draw chances. This is because the vast majority of them are relying on the emotional ties that its fanbase has with its existing property. They don't need to sell these characters because you already know who they are. All the heavy lifting has already been done. Just pour everything to a mobile game with the same old art style, and fans will already be pouring in. They do this because they know they can get away with it. Now I want to give a little bit of credit here. There was a reroll banner where you're guaranteed to pull a standard SSR at launch, and you may repeat this endlessly until you're satisfied with the results. This is a step up from solo leveling Arise, so this is at least something good. I want to briefly talk about monetization. There is a monthly battle pass for $9, which is actually not bad for the value. There's the weekly and monthly passes for low spenders, and also a plethora of other paid packs. Oh my god, it just keeps on going. You can buy the paid cubes in the separate tab, but this game doesn't seem to do first purchase bonuses, so what you see is exactly what you're getting. When the game first launched, I was surprised by the amount of ongoing banners, but then I realized that 5 out of 7 of them were guaranteed banners requiring paid cubes. These are obviously some questionable monetization choices, but if that was all, then I still wouldn't have bothered making a hit piece for this game. Because now we move on to the main topic. This is the reason why I decided to make this video. The spotlight goes to the global server's atrocious handling of events and scheduling. As you know, JP has had the game for more than a year now. The global server is starting from day 1, and this is obviously not the first time there's a delay between regions in a gacha game. This gap can often favor the players where its region's servers started late, as they have a general idea of what units are good and what content will be released in the future. Now, part of me understands that companies still need to make money to account for players having this information. So I don't have a problem if they slightly shake up their scheduling a bit or throw in some bait banners. What's important if the game is trying to catch up to the main servers is that it should account for the more frequent scheduling by adjusting event requirements or rewards. This can be done by just informing players what the plans and goals are, and announce how each update patch will be modified, like what Punishing Great Raven is doing right now. We're just straight up lowering the pity on the global servers like Heaven Burns Red. Phantom Parade is not doing any of that. Oh no. They're catching players by surprise. When people originally found that the game was running 2 events simultaneously, there were some complaints. Every event has a story mode that's fully voice acted, a hard mode, and a challenge stage. It's pretty typical for how events go in gacha games, but the schedule is usually spread out for each. Considering that events are not archived in this game, it creates a feeling that if you're not completing it, you're missing out. This is obviously what people refer to as FOMO. Every event also introduced a new character to pull in the gacha. But given that there were no changes to the free rewards given out to players, this makes it increasingly difficult to plan ahead and pull for the characters you want. And again, I understand that it's highly unrealistic for free-to-play players to get every new character, and some might even appreciate that they get to play more of the game featuring their favorite cast. However, you might imagine my surprise to see that after all this debacle, they did the opposite of slowing down and improving the pace of the release schedule. Instead, they doubled down. The Jujutsu Kaisen 0 event, which was actually split into 2 parts on JP, launched at the same time on Global. When I logged in, there were a total of 3 ongoing banners featuring the 0 cast, all of which, according to the game, are limited characters. And this is the part where I don't understand what they're going for. If we're talking about the gacha itself, free-to-play and even low spenders or dolphins won't have enough to scrounge up a spark for their desired character. Not to mention the amount of FOMO this induces. You better get them now or they're not coming back for a while. The only realistic target for this move would be whales, but you had to shell out a crazy amount of cash to get the results you want. Not to mention, who's to say that this kind of thing won't happen until the global server is caught up to JP. It would just be back-to-back banners non-stop. Even if we set monetization aside, running 3 events all at once is also extremely overwhelming to players. While I think live service games shouldn't have dead periods, having too much all at once can also cause problems. The gameplay loop of Phantom Parade is fine, but pushing players to go through all that content in this short of a time frame will only dwindle the existing player base further as they feel it's too much work to keep up. What Bilibili Games is thinking regarding these decisions is anyone's guess, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this move has been largely unpopular with the fanbase. Some took on review bombing the game. From what it seems like to me, they got their sights set on the most dedicated fans to squeeze out the cash, then terminate the global servers and make off with the money. It's not the first time I've seen IP-based gachas do this, and it certainly won't be the last. By the way, I just want to mention that for celebrating 8 million players, they have generously given out the opportunity to roll on another paid banner, so you can give them more money. When I first played at launch, I thought there were some iffy moments, but this is a functional game with a big enough fanbase. With the built-in quality of life features, I think the game has a steady foundation. It's just being built in all the wrong ways. Let's hope the publisher is able to learn from this and recover, but as of learning about the current news, Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade gets my first impression rating of skip it. So what do you think? Did you try out Phantom Parade, and do you think there's any hope left for the Global's version? If you'd like to catch more gacha content like this, including a non-sponsored review on Girls Frontline 2 in the next week, you know what to do. As always, thank you for watching, and have fun out there.